My name is Nelly Salvatore, and today we are at CTC Conservation Center in Mpigi, Butambala. And today we are going to look at how CTC has been conserving wildlife. And today we shall talk to a gentleman who is the founder of CTC, and he will be telling us his story. Please welcome with me, Thomas Price.
Thanks a lot for having me. My name is Thomas Benjamin Price. I was born and raised in Europe, and I came to Uganda in 1994. And always have had a passion for keeping animals. I've kept animals since I'm a young kid. So it's a very passion-driven initiative, more than a business venture. I bought the first plot of land here in 2015, just after I got my citizenship and decided to really permanently reside and live here. In the beginning, it was just more of the idea of having a farmhouse with a garden and a few animals. But as the years went by, I've added more and more land and decided to open up CTC Conservation Center, something which always was a dream of mine. And the beginning was just very small. We started with small steps. I would say almost everything which you see here has pretty much been built in the last 4 years. So it's the last 3 or 4 years which really have been a driving factor.
That's great. What would you say about the biggest milestone that you have achieved so far at CTC?
There are many, but I would say the most prominent one was our lions. We've imported 4 lions around 2010, 2011. And those 4 lions have reproduced to become 26 lions in the meantime, meaning we've had 22 lion offsprings born here at CTC, making it the 3rd biggest population in all of Uganda and the biggest captively managed population of lions anywhere in East Africa.
That's a good and a big milestone. We are talking about conservation today, and I understand that lion conservation in Uganda has been a challenge because I believe the population of our lions is really declining a lot. What could be the challenges, and what is CTC trying to do to make sure that maybe our lions can be conserved for future generations and to be able to help maybe the wildlife sector in Uganda to keep our lions population up?
In general, the main issue we have in Uganda with the lions in the nature is a human-wildlife conflict. And to be very frank, the solutions would be very simple. If you live in Kasese and you have 20 cows, let's say, and the lion comes and kills 3 or 4 of your cows, and you apply for compensation, and people dilly-dally you for half a year, 1 year, you don't see your money. In the meantime, a lion comes and kills another 2 cows. There's chances you will probably poison the lions to protect your cows. Now, if the same scenario happens, a lion comes, kills 2 or 3 of your cows, and you get compensated immediately, and maybe even compensated a little bit extra, 10% more, would you poison any lions?
I would doubt that.
So the solution is very simple. The other issue are the snares. People are doing a lot of bushmeat hunting, for mostly setting snares for antelopes, and lions end up stepping in them. Now again, that is a very complex situation, but if people would be allowed, you see, we have foreign hunters coming in here, which pay a lot of money. They hunt our animals. The money supposedly helps conservation, but I'm sure a lot of it disappears. If that would be managed properly, the local communities have been living with these wild animals for the last 10 or 20,000 years here in Uganda and everywhere in East Africa, in harmony. Animals have been here for thousands of years, people have been here for thousands of years. It was a harmony. But now the problem is you cannot restrict people and tell them they're not allowed to hunt, because they will still hunt, and that's why they're setting snares. You would much rather put up a quota system where you would say, I'll just give an example. Let's say, for example, we have 20,000 Uganda cobs in Murchison Falls. Now scientists would study how many can be hunted a year without affecting the population. I'll just guess, let's say 1,000 cobs a year. Meaning if you hunt 1,000 cobs now, you'll have only 19,000, but by next year they will recover and they can be 20. And it can go on like that. Now, instead of giving these cobs to rich hunters from the outside who spend money and the money disappears, you would say, okay, let the local community hunt 900 cobs, and I'm only using the cobs as an example. Let the local community hunt 900 cobs a year. You go to each area and you set a quota. This area, 100 cobs, that one, 150 cobs a year, monitored. And they're officially, legally allowed to traditionally hunt them. And they get their meat. They wouldn't be setting snares. Now, you would do 900 for the local population as an example, 90%. 10% you can still give to the rich hunters to hunt. With that money, you now finance the compensation of people's cows who were killed by lions or other human-wildlife conflict. The problem would be finished there and then. But the problem we have here, and I'm very sorry for being frank, people use this as a cash cow, this whole situation. And I'm not even saying mostly Ugandans. You have a lot of NGOs who are here, who are making this scenario, and I'm very sorry to say, but this is very unfortunate. The person suffering right now about this whole situation is the local villager who goes out there, maybe spears an antelope, brings home 3 or 4 kilos of game meat for his family, gets arrested, and with the new Wildlife Act 2019 faces 15, 20 years in prison. That is really ridiculous. Because the problem is not the poor fellow who's hunting the antelope, which his father has done and his grandfather have done, they've done it for thousands of years. So really that needs to be addressed. And the problem is, you see, with this Wildlife Act, it sort of gives this impression to the Western world that you have this, and I'm again sorry to be very frank, it gives the Western world this impression that the poachers are these savage villagers, they're killing animals, they have to be stopped, we have to put up penalties, put them life in prison. In the meantime, people are donating millions of dollars to NGOs, and they're just letting the cycle continue like that. The solution is simple: compensate the cows, let people hunt, regulate it, local communities hunt, and the problem is solved there and then. It doesn't take rocket science.
So I understand that human conflict in wildlife is a very big challenge, and it's one of the biggest reasons as to why our wildlife keeps getting endangered. But and I also understand that community involvement is very key in wildlife conservation. What is CTC doing here at CTC Conservation Center to involve the communities in the work of CTC?
I would say from our perspective, everything we do here is community driven. All our staff is local staff from within the community. All our supplies, we buy them from the local community. The laborers, casual laborers, the welders, the builders, it's all the local community. At the end of the year, we do also contribute some profits, which we're projecting to the local community. As of now, it's more like the investment which we're putting in. We're at the end of the year giving every household around us at least some packages, some financial and also food packages, just for them to understand that we're growing together. We could not manage without the community, and the community is also benefiting from us. So it benefits both parties. And this should be a national status where in the parks and everywhere, the communities really need to benefit. And that's really, I'll be very honest with you, it's not a human-wildlife conflict issue, it's a mismanagement issue. If people would be compensated, you wouldn't have this problem.
That's a good one. And so I would like to know, for example, what's the people's perception about you keeping this wildlife, especially the lions? I know because we fear lions. We tend to know that actually lions are actually scary. But from my understanding, actually, I got an opportunity to interact with some cubs, although I didn't, get close to the big ones. But I would like to know what strategies do you put there to make sure that these lions are safe for the community, for the people that work here, and also what is the general perception of the community about these lions and other wildlife that you're keeping here?
One would imagine that might be a problem, but surprisingly our community is 100% supportive. We don't have a single neighbor who has any complaint about the lions, because they all benefit from it. And as long as they benefit from it, they will protect it and make sure that it continues. So that's why the community involvement is so important in anything to do with wildlife.
That's very important. So I would like to know about specific strategies for animal rescue, rehabilitation and introduction, the way that you approach this conservation. Do you do any rehabilitation or reintroduction back to the wild? What's your approach to this and how do you do this?
By law, any rescue and rehabilitation, the mandate lies with UEC. They have an act in Parliament. So we are not legally allowed to do any rescues. Nobody in Uganda is, it's only UEC, unless they delegate powers to someone. So we're not doing rescues. What we are doing is breeding for conservation purposes and also for commercial purposes, because CTC is conservation through commercialization. So when we have offspring of animals, we're allowed to exchange them with other facilities. We're allowed to sell them to other facilities as well. But we also are breeding with the hope that in future some of our animals can be reintroduced. Now, a lot of people say like, you cannot reintroduce tame animals. That is very true. Nobody would ever, of course, release any of our tame lions. But we have lions which are tame, which interact with people, which would be the founding stock, the breeders. And future offspring of those could be raised in ways that they could be reintroduced into the wild. But this has been a topic. People have been hearing about different ideas of breeding and reintroducing. Our point of view is simple. You cannot release any lions in any park in Uganda until the underlying issues are solved. We're losing a lot of lions every year, and adding more lions doesn't solve the problem. One needs to find the solution to why we're losing lions first.
Yeah, recently I saw that you had a pangolin that the community members rescued, and you handed it over to UWA. Please tell us how you did this and how it came about.
Well, over the last several years, since the community knows what we're doing and also work closely together with us, when they do clear their fields, they do sometimes come across wildlife. Now, we do notify UWA. We've had some baby jackals which were brought to us over the years, and we've had in total, I think, 7 pangolins brought to us over the last 4 or 5 years. So when they do bring them to us, we do notify UWA immediately, and they usually come and pick them up. This time we brought it to UWA headquarters ourselves, and then UWA reintroduces them back into protected areas.
That's a good one. So today is a World Wildlife Conservation Day, and we would like to know the strategy that you're using, since the theme is about digital innovations in wildlife conservation. Are there any digital innovations or technologies that you're using in your conservation activities?
At this point, not yet. Of course, we have, surveillance cameras and things like that, which are digital, but not at this point yet. We're not really that far. We have not really opened the project fully yet either. So those are things we will be looking at in future.
So speaking of that, what kind of challenges have you met as CTC in your work, and how have you overcome these challenges?
Well, generally, we've not really had many challenges other than bureaucratic challenges. Licensing has been a real nightmare. We have taken years for things which should only take weeks. So the bureaucratic delays are our main challenge. This project would be years ahead if it weren't for just endless delays with every single application we hand in. Other than that, challenges are few. The community is supportive. We have a lot of well-wishers. We started having visitors, so financially that's helping us as well. So otherwise we're doing okay, I would say, mostly the delays.
What kind of delays? Because I see there are some animals that are not here really, and I would hope that maybe a center like this would be having a bit of more animals. What could be the issue, and why aren't we seeing more animals here?
I'll give you a very simple example. We have a list of animals which we're allowed to source, either by importing or collecting them in the wild outside of protected areas. Such animals would be like the jackals and even hyenas and things like that, which we're allowed to collect in Uganda outside of protected areas, and preferably community problem animals, because that solves 2 problems at once. We remove the community problem animal and we have it here. Now, in order to do that, in order for us to trap any animals, we pay a professional trapper's license annually. For the last 2 years, we've been paying for the annual trapper's license, and UWA has not issued it to us for 2 years now. And we've sent at least 6 or 7 reminders. We brought it up in meetings, and they just tell us to be patient. And we've been patient for 2 years and not added any animals. So you should probably interview UWA and ask them about why.
Maybe I'll get a one-on-one with UWA and see how best, or maybe what's happening.
Yes, because now imagine you're paying for something, you have your receipt, and they just don't issue.
Are there any specific animals that you would like to have here?
Well, there's several. We've been applying for giraffes for 4 years now. We are still waiting for an approval.
To get from our parks? Because we have a lot of...
UWA first initially suggested we should import them from South Africa. You can imagine how much it would cost to fly 4 giraffes in an airplane. It's like renting half the airplane. You would spend over $100,000. And then we counted. We said, look, there's so many giraffes in Murchison Falls National Park. To bring 3 or 4 here surely shouldn't be a challenge. And the idea of sending $100,000 from the Ugandan economy to South Africa, while we have the animals here, it's again one of those things where we just clash with UWA.
Okay, this has been a very nice conversation, and would like to know, like, where do you find CTC, and how can someone, support CTC? Yeah.
Well, we're located near Mpigi town, so we're just a little bit more than an hour away from Kampala. As they will be building the expressway, it will be just a 25-minute drive to Kampala. So we are open strictly on appointment, so people can write us. We're on Instagram. If you just look for CTC Conservation Center, you'll find us there with all our details. You can make a booking with us, an appointment actually, and come and see the animals. It's quite straightforward.
So today we had a very good engagement with other people who came here to visit CTC. I think we had over even close to 100 people, which I understand that you don't normally accommodate. But I'm glad that you got us here and you hosted us for the celebration of World Wildlife Day. And I would like to know how you think this event will help you in your conservation initiatives. And also the partners, like for example, Forever Forestry, Tree Adoption Uganda, Green Lens International, Green Watch, the Kenneth Kakuru Initiative, the Big Seven Africa, Taffies Safaris, Trip Addict, and Tour Nomads. They have come here together. We've planted over 1,000 trees. So I'd like to know how you think this initiative, especially on the tree planting, will help in your conservation initiatives.
I'd say mostly through awareness and exposing, so that people become more aware that we actually exist, since we've not been really advertising much, as we've not yet fully opened. We're waiting to finish some cottages and a restaurant. But I would say it helps mostly through awareness and exposure, that people become aware that we're here and what we're doing. So that really helps us a lot.
Thank you so much. So as we conclude, do you have any message or anything that you think the public should know, especially about CTC and your conservation initiatives and your future plans for this center?
Many future plans. So I would just say, for Wildlife Day, let us all remember that we coexist with nature. Without nature, we will fail ourselves as well. So it's very important to really take care of our nature. And as a Ugandan, I would also say we need to be proud. As Ugandans, we need to be proud of what we have in Uganda, which includes our animals, which includes our national parks and our nature. That's what makes us Ugandan. So I really think we need to protect our environment and really strive for a better nation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We've been having Thomas Price, who's the founder of CTC Conservation Center. My name is Nelson Byanyima, also known as Nelly Salvatore, the founder of Green Lens International, and we thank you for watching us, and we thank you for visiting the CTC, and we hope that if you haven't visited the CTC, maybe next time you can visit. And also we call upon you to help save the wildlife, support conservation initiatives, and of course if you want to support Thomas's initiatives, you can reach out on the links that we are going to provide, and also on Instagram it is CTC Conservation Center. So I thank you for having me, Thomas. You didn't tell me about this Korigo.
This actually is a very special animal. He's half a dog and half a wolf, real wolf. Yeah. But much more special than that, his name is Oni, and he grew up with our lions. He was born in a litter, which he was the sole survivor because he was born prematurely. So instead of raising him alone, we had baby lions, and we decided to let him grow up at least with the lions. And up until now, he still goes in with the big lions, and they play with him. He plays with them very gently. Nobody gets injured because they still consider him their brother. So he's a bit of a lion, a bit of a wolf, and a bit of a dog.
Wow, that's great. Okay, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you very much. I appreciate for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much.